Honorable the Chief Justice of India, Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, Learned Attorney General for India, Shri R. Venkatramani, President of SCBA, Shri Vikas Singh, Vice President of SCBA, Shri Pradeep Kumar Rai, Honorary Secretary of SCBA, Shri Rahul Kaushik, my sister and brother judges, Learned Solicitor General of India, Shri Tushar Mehta, he has left, President, Secretary and members of the Supreme Court Advocates on Record Association, Mr. Ashok Bhushan, I was your bench partner, sir. Mr. Venugopal Gowda, Justice Venugopal Gowda and Madam Venugopal Gowda, learned senior advocates, my family members, and of course law clerks, ladies and gentlemen. I am thankful to Honorable Chief Justice of India, Dr. Chandrachud, for his kind words. So also to the Learned Attorney General for India and President of SCBA, Shri Vikas Singh, and the Vice President. Honorable Chief Justice of India had made a lot of research, but whatever he said was true. After the great events, fond memories, and eternal relationships having at length happened in my personal and professional life, I now, at the time of my retirement, have the honor of expressing my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who had shown faith in my abilities and given me an opportunity to serve at this supreme institution. When I look back at how it all began, it still feels like a dream come true. When my career began, I was aged about 24 years. I was born in the year 1958. Vice President rightly said it was a 20-20 match, but I have not played 20-20 in my career. It was a regular test match like Sunil Gavaskar. I have not gone for sixers and boundaries. I was born in the year 1958 when our country had completed a decade since its independence. I come from a very small village in Dakshina Kannada district of Karnataka state. I had completed my graduation in commerce, and thereafter I was the first one in my family who decided to pursue a career in law. Mr. Vikas Singh is also right in stating that I was inspired by Shri M.K. Vijay Kumar. His speeches, political speeches, I was a great admirer of Vijay Kumar. I was lucky that I was able to enter his office as a junior. I still have vivid memories of the time I had spent at the SDM Law College at Mangalore. That was a time when litigation was the only option available, at least for me. One of my lecturers was telling me on that day, I remember in Kannada, I will say it in Kannada and then I will translate it in English. One of my lecturers, about the law course in those days, 1983. No, I joined in 1979. Yellu salladavaru, illi sallaru. Illu salladavaru, yellu sallaru. Means anybody who won't fit in this course will not fit in anywhere. That was the mentality in those days. Yellu salladavaru, illi sallaru. Anybody who won't fit in will fit in here. But if anybody doesn't fit in here, won't fit in anywhere else. In 1983, I got myself enrolled at the bar. I still remember the initial tough years when English was still something I had to learn. And to progress in my legal career. On a lighter note, my initial phase as a young advocate were synonymous with something known as duck syndrome. You all have seen ducks. Above the water, they seem to be like the most peaceful creatures on the planet, silently gliding on the stream of water. But what's happening beneath the water is only known to the ducks. They are paddling furiously just to stay afloat and keep gliding. I also had witnessed the feeling that I am not a smartest lawyer. I don't have the best drafting skills, etc., etc. But I kept pushing harder and harder just to peacefully glide in the legal profession and went on smiling also. My 2 decades of practice at Karnataka were the most enriching years. That time was the first point of inflection in the history of the Supreme Court when our constitutional jurisprudence was being etched. And the credit must go to the then great judges of the Supreme Court and the sheer competence and exuberance of the legal stalwarts like Mr. Palkiwala, Mr. Sirvai, Mr. Fali S. Nariman, Mr. Parasaran, Mr. Jetmalani, Mr. Desai, Mr. Sorabji, and many more. This too was an inflection point in my life. It was at that time I decided to completely dedicate my life to the legal profession. I started working even harder. I started enjoying my work more than ever. This all continued for good 2 decades before I was to face the next inflection point in my life, a major one, my elevation from the bar to the bench. I should really thank Honorable Justice R.V. Ravindran for my elevation to the High Court. It was not an easy decision. A transition from the bar to the bench calls for a lot of self-introspection and self-talk. It was never an easy decision. Neither was I immune to it. In the year 2003, I was appointed as a judge at the Karnataka High Court. My life completely changed after that. As an advocate, I had been active in social affairs. I had made great friends during my years of practice. Tea and coffee were our catalyst for sparkling endless discussions and discreet learning outside the courtrooms. The pleasure of arguing before the judges and pressing hard to get relief for my clients was a great joy. Like it is said, great things call for greater sacrifices. And the next milestone came in the year 2017 when I was elevated to the Supreme Court. Here I must really remember Honorable Chief Justice Kehar Saab. I know that such a prestigious position would come with greater responsibilities and duties. I had a span of good long 6 years, 1 month short of course, working alongside the finest brother and sister judges. Since I was fortunate to serve this institution, I had the privilege to work on many historic cases and landmark judgments. God has been very kind that He planned things in my life that I could barely envy when I was in my law school. The journey had been long and extremely challenging, if I may humbly accept. Now, since I have retired, I must also share my inner feelings that I rarely share with anyone. I have lived it all and I couldn't have asked Almighty for anything more. I am extremely fortunate to contribute to the cause of justice and work with most distinguished judges at the Supreme Court. Hans Rowling, in his book titled Factfulness, explained why majority people assume the state of affairs wrongly. This is primarily not because of mere chance, but misinformation that exists in the society. The situation we see today is not as grim as it used to be earlier. The Supreme Court has always strived for excellence and I humbly acknowledge that it has come a long way ever since its inception. I am certain that under the guidance of the current Honorable Chief Justice Dr. Chandrachud, this apex institution is all set to face the challenges of today's dynamic scenario. And I am also hopeful that our future Chief Justices and judges will only take things forward. Sorry. I pointed out Honorable Justice Gawai because he is going to be the Chief Justice of India. And Justice Sanjeev Khanna is here. Justice Nagaratna is here. Huh? Oh, Justice Narasimha is here. Sorry, I missed. Huh? कहाँ है विक्रमनाथ जी? वो हो आप शॉल डाल के हैं. सॉरी, टोपी और शॉल में मैं But like it is said, there is always room for improvements and changes. For instance, if I were to say that Indian judiciary is immune from gender inequalities that exist within our society, I can't be further away from the reality. Sir, the representation of women in judiciary is still very low. Kofi Annan rightly puts it, and I quote, "There is no tool for development more effective than women empowerment," unquote. I am lending words of my learned brother Justice Ravindra Bhatt, who wrote in his recent judgment, Maratha Reservation. And I quote, "The quest for one person, one value of true equality and of fraternity of Indians, where caste, race, gender, and religion are irrelevant, has produced mixed results. As long as there is no true equality of opportunity, of access, and of the true worth of human beings, and as long as the world is broken into fragments by narrow domestic walls, the quest remains incomplete," unquote. Therefore, to find a Goldilocks solution which works for the needs of our society, all the three organs of state should look viable solutions to build a conducive environment such that we not only preach but also practice equality in all spheres of life. The energy and competence I see in the young members of the bar are unparalleled. Appearance of young advocates in my courtroom made me really happy and reminded me of my younger days. I strongly believe that the younger generation should, with utmost sincerity, integrity, compassion, and perseverance, take the baton and pursue their professional interests. I strongly advocate that every young professional should spend reasonable time working in courts to learn that craft of advocacy that is immensely helpful in life, irrespective of your final career choice. As younger generation, you should not let the past decide your future. As younger generation, you should not let the past decide your future. Always try to optimize things in the present and do what is best for going forward. If at any point in your career you are faced with making a decision between an easier path and a more challenging path, always opt for more challenging path, because even if you fail, you always learn something new. There may be instances where you will be faced with a situation when life will offer you once in a lifetime opportunity, for which you might have to make a sacrifice. I suggest, friends, you take the plunge and accept such an opportunity, because you can always come back to the remaining things later. I wish exceedingly in the outset to guard myself and all the senior bar members from approaching this subject that I am going to discuss with any passion. I only request for your compassion and maturity. Without intending to take anyone by surprise, I wish to deliberate on two important things. Maybe a bit harsh. Firstly, is with respect to giving the junior members reasonable opportunities to brief and argue the matters wherever possible. All that the younger generation needs is a mentor to channelize their energies and an invisible helping hand. Every one of us have had mentors in this profession. Therefore, it also becomes our duty to act like one for the new generation. Second is most important. Secondly, the juniors must be paid decently, sir. These kids are learning to gauge the depth of this profession and navigating their way. We cannot afford to lose such good talent just because of the perception that litigation as a career option is not financially unviable. We have to be the change that we probably wanted during our days as junior advocate. A decent pay to the juniors will only bring more talented and dynamic young members to the profession. I second with the thoughts of Honorable Chief Justice Dr. Chandrachud on the same issue you had also expressed some time back. We need them and their inputs in providing equitable and accessible justice and reach the last voice crying for justice, which otherwise cannot be heard. I thank my sister and brother judges of this court who have been very kind to me throughout. I am to thank the Supreme Court Registry, law officers, all my court staff, protocol staff, medical staff, library staff, and office staff members for perfectly managing everything for me during all my years in the Supreme Court, and all my law researchers who have immensely helped me to the best of their abilities. I thank each one of them and I wish them the best for their future endeavors. And last but not the least, everything in my life have been possible without the support of my family. They are reasons that kept me going. They stood next to me during all times. I thank all of them. I wish to reverberate what Maximilien Robespierre said during the French Revolution while calling everyone to listen the inner self. He said, and I quote, "Let us be generous towards good, compassionate with the unfortunate, inexorable with the evil, and just towards everyone," unquote. Finally, I end with a shloka that relate most with me. Dharme sarv pratishtham tasmad dharm par vadanti dharm ev hato hanti dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. It means that everything in this world is founded on dharma. Hence, dharma is the ultimate supreme. Dharma destroys those who destroy it, and dharma protects